The issue as to whether we should be heard here or in the Anti-Corruption Division of the High Court was precisely to save the time of this honorable court. Because, my Lord, we are ready. If you send us to the Anti-Corruption Division now, we are ready to go and argue out these matters. Otherwise, if I start responding, and we have responded in a very comprehensive affidavit, if I start responding to my learned friend's application for interim orders, which will be strongly opposed, we will take a lot of time on this honorable court. I thought that perhaps if your Lordship could give us guidance on whether this matter is proceeding before this division today or whether we are going to the other one, then we will save a lot of time of the court, my Lord. But the application for interim orders is strongly opposed, and I would seek time to fully respond, whether it is before this court or whether it's in the Anti-Corruption Division, my Lord. We can't choose who is going to investigate us, but I don't want to take the time unless you allocate us time. This is mentioned. If you want to hear the application for interim orders and accord the respondents opportunity to respond, my learned friend took a lot of time, then give us a time, either today before your Lordship or before the other division. But I do want to make one point as I sit down. When the petitioner was filing this petition before this division, he was aware of the practice directions. So had he filed in the correct division, the situation we find ourselves in, including the court, would not have been there.
With all that has been said by my senior, Mr. Mwite, and I wish to confirm that the EACC indeed filed an application seeking the transfer of this matter from this court to the Anti-Corruption Division. And Your Lordship, I disagree with the submission by my senior, Mr. Miller, that the petitioner needs to be given a chance to respond to that application. My position is that based on those practice directions, this court can, even on its own motion, direct that this matter be transferred to another division. And therefore, Your Lordship, what we are seeking is that before we even go to the issues of the stay orders that have been sought by Mr. Miller, the matter ought to be transferred to another division, because arguing on the prayer sought will eventually force us to deal with the issues of investigations which touch on corruption and economic crime. Otherwise, we oppose the order set.
With the submissions by the senior counsel and the counsel for the first respondent. I just seek to add 2 points. One, yesterday we were before your brother, Justice Mativo, in JR 326 of 2019, where there is an applicant and the petitioner is a party in that matter, and we raised this same issue about transferring the matter, and the learned judge, Justice Mativo, transferred the matter to the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Division. And our primary prayer was that that matter be heard in that division, and this matter is similar and raises similar questions as that other JR that is now transferred to the Anti-Corruption Division. So that, my Lord, it would be tidier and will save the court the embarrassment of having two parallel proceedings touching on the same question, on the same facts, on the same legal matter. So it is tidier if this matter is transferred to the other division. And I agree that, my lord, if we are opposed to stay, the request for stay, we are opposed. I want to correct my learned senior, Mr. Miller, that we have not served. We actually served his office on the 19th of November 2019 with our grounds of objections. We have filed them in court. We are ready to be heard on the question of stay, whether before this court, but preferably before the Anti-Corruption Division. So we oppose the request for stay and we request to be heard on that question. And then, my lord, just for some statistics, my lord. Yes, my lord.
General, we support the senior counsel, Mr. Paul Mwite's views that this matter be transferred to the appropriate forum, that is the Anti-Corruption Division of the High Court. Your Lordship, I don't believe that there is need for an application, because if you refer to that Gazette notice on the second page, that is number 7, it is explicit. It says, all cases relating to corruption and economic crimes which have been filed before other stations or divisions of the High Court in which hearing is looking for the notice. 7. So the next page. 7. It's in black and white. 7, number 7. It's explicit. All cases relating to corruption and economic crimes which have been filed before other stations or divisions of the High Court in which hearing has not commenced, like this one, shall be transferred to the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Division. I rest my submissions in that regard.
We have raised the issue of prejudice in relation to our prayers. Prejudice to the constitutional rights of the petitioner. My lord, I've listened to all my learned colleagues here. None of them has addressed this court on the issue of prejudice to the rights of the petitioner. None of them. None of them has addressed that issue. The only colleague who has mentioned the word prejudice is Mr. Kinoti for the 6th respondent. And his exact words were, he sees no prejudice on the issue of transfer, my lord. Not the issue of constitutional rights of the petitioner, but transfer of the matter. So my submission, my lord, is that on the issue of prejudice to the petitioner, none of my colleagues has addressed you on that issue.
My lord, I do wish to object.
My lord,
My lord, I do want to place my... I asked for directions to respond on the issue of prejudice. My learned friend is now saying that we have not addressed that issue. Cognizant of the court's sentiment that this is a mention, I, on behalf of the 7th respondent, saw directions to be heard on the issue of interim orders, whether it is before this court or whether it is before the other court. So we deliberately saw those directions. It's not that we will not address the court. We will do so. We must not be taken as not to have addressed this court. We asked for time to address the court.
My lord.
Of the application will be handled when the matter will come for hearing. Restrict yourself to other issues other than arguing your application, Mr. Miller.
Most obliged, man. To the issue of prejudice, and even now my learned colleague has not dealt with it. So therefore my submission, my lord. Sorry, my lord. Before you, for transfer. We are submitting that the court needs to give the petitioner sufficient time to respond, which is the same thing I'm hearing them saying, they need time. So the issue of transferring the matter to another court cannot be dealt with now because they need time to respond to my submissions on the prejudice of the petitioner. I need time to respond to their notice of motion application of transferring the matter to the anti-corruption court. Therefore, my Lord, in view of that, the only thing that we humbly submit that this court can do is give directions as prayed for in terms of responses, and the date for hearing of our application that has been filed under certificate, my Lord. That's all. Additional to the petitioner, because they have filed an application and a notice of motion in response. They have filed authorities. I have sought time.
Notwithstanding filing of an application, the court do that on its own motion of putting it different. Look at the file and decide even this file. So, having been filed in my division, I'll transfer it.
On motion, the court can also, in the interest of justice, grant prayers 2 and 3 on its own motion.
Yes.
So really, it's a catch-22. If the court therefore wants to go and look at the file and make a decision, then the court should also look at the issue of the interest of justice of a Kenyan seeking justice before this court, and order, transfer if necessary, and grant the prayers that we sought in this application.